In the span of just a week, the quality racing Sim-dicate has made its way from the center of a Japanese forest to the heart of a bustling city. With its rare counterclockwise layout and multiple elevation changes, Interlagos will challenge even the best of drivers in today's multi-class event. It's the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series, up next on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, I'm Justin Prince, and welcome everyone to the 5th round of the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series from Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Along with me today in the booth is straight from Dawson's Creek, Dawson Brock. Our director today will be the great Joe Peak, and our cameras, as always, were provided by the great Dougie Beard. Now, Dawson, today's circuit is one that not only features 43 meters of elevation changes, but it's also one of those tracks that is fairly hilly because it falls with the terrain that it was built on. The latter point is why the circuit just so happens to host some road cycling races. So, why don't you tell us, Dawson, about what else to expect and what else everyone should know about the 78-year-old track?
Well, Justin, Interlagos, or as it is officially known, Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, is a 2.7-mile-long circuit located just on the outskirts of Sao Paulo. Interlagos has been home to the Brazilian Grand Prix since 1973, other than the period between 1978 to 1989. It is among a few major international circuits today that run counterclockwise. While the track received a $15 million revamp just before 1990, many of the original corners were retained. Today, the track is not only a host to F1, but also Formula Truck, Stock Car Brazil, and even, as you mentioned, bicycle races. Let's take a closer look at Interlagos to get an idea of what the track is really about.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman to the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming down to turn 1, the Senna S provides a great opportunity for an overtake, but attack and defense can be a complicated affair with the way the track falls away and switches direction. Regardless of the outcome, at the end you're dumped onto the Curva do Sol, which is flat out in this little MX-5. And this sets you up for the next best place for a pass at the end of the Reta Aposta. This stretch will provide a good draft, allowing you to close in or even get side by side with your opponent. Coming up is the braking for Descida de Lago, and you really want the inside line to have a chance at getting by the driver ahead of you. The car will want to understeer as we head back downhill, and once again, you won't be lifting for a bit as the car slides its way through 5. Drift it back to the left and get the car lined up for Ferradura. This double apexer is fairly fast, meaning it's going to be tough to force a too-wide situation. I wouldn't really recommend trying to pass here unless you're desperate. Thankfully, there's lots of paved runoff around the outside. Quickly, you're going to get on the brakes for 8, which kicks off the slow, winding technical section of the circuit. Each corner requires you to set the car up for the following one, so don't worry about maximizing the exit as much as where you position your car. These curbs are very wide and flat though, so feel free to use as much as you can. Now we hit the Bico de Pato, which is a decreasing radius hairpin. Late apex this baby, and then swing it across the track immediately for the best line through 11. Once again, the curbing on the outside is usable, so make the best of it for a nice wide entry into Juncao. Every drop of speed you can carry through this turn will pay dividends on your lap time and for the opportunity to pass into 1. Without much power in the engine of the MX-5, this long uphill climb needs you to keep your momentum up. At this point, it's all about minimizing your steering input, or if you've got a competitor sizing you up, positioning your car for defense. Hopefully, you can hold them off in the braking zone, but as we come across the line, you've finished a lap around Interlagos.
And that is how you folks get around this 2.6-mile circuit here in beautiful Brazil. As you can tell, a very quick circuit in terms of times for the most part. About a minute 50 seconds to as slow as a minute 55 are some of the qualifying times going on in your backdrop. But first, why don't we get to some of your standings for this season for the QRS Sports Car Challenge Series. Let's first off go to your Skip Barber point standing, shall we? As with the Skip Barbers, it is Luke Whitten leading the way so far for the series with 2 wins and 3 top 5s and 3 top 10s. Fahim Antonitis falls the way with Kane Lasky and Enzo Canta, all in a very tight top 4, with all of them either finishing in the victory lane or finishing in the top 5 or the top 10 throughout this series so far. Rob Adams rounds out the top 5 for that for today, as you see on your screen. A very close points battle. All of these drivers within 64 points. That is how close things are coming along. Now, next up on your screen, you have the MX5 standings, where Sonny Kenshin, the Aussie, has just absolutely dominated throughout the entire season so far. A 401 points total he's got, with the only driver with multiple victories and one of just a couple drivers finishing every race in the top 5 this season. Jerome Ursum, Gene Fittis, Richard Losper, and Riley Rote follow him off. There's a reason Sonny Kenshin is 6th in the overall standings for the season so far. Now let's get to your SRF standings. As with the Spec Racer Fords, Jason Perry currently leads the way in the series, followed by C. Love, who is just 34 points back, who has had a strong season so far. Every single race, he has finished in the top 5 so far. The only driver in the class to do so, one of 2 drivers to finish in the top 10. David Gaspers is the only other driver to finish every race in the top 10. Angelino Filiino is in 4th spot. Jeffrey Graham-Brow rounds out your top 5 in the SRF Driver Championship. Now, for those that are new to this series, Dawson is going to break down your race details for today for this 45-minute event. Dawson?
Well, yep, as you mentioned, 45-minute event today. Now, there are a couple races, 3 in particular in the season, that are 60 minutes. Each car has enough fuel for just over 30 minutes, so we will be seeing 1 pit stop today. The Skip Barber is limited to 62%, MX5 to 35%, and the SRF is limited to 43%. There are no incident caps, and they are using the same rules for MPI as MWT. No quick repairs. You're going to have to finish in the car you start with, and rolling starts with the grid are not separated by class. So you will see MX5s with Skip Barbers. They will all be intertwined. Should make for a very, very interesting start of the race. Now, qualifying right now is underway. 15 minutes. You get 4 laps to get your hot laps down. And, well, let's take a look. Luke Witten right now at the top of the board, Justin.
Yeah, Luke Witten, one of the top drivers in the Skip Barbers this season, going around the track, as you see, leading off that qualifying board. In fact, going towards pit lane, Fahim Antonides is in 2nd, just a 10th behind of Antonides, even congratulating Luke Witten on his quick time. Enzo Canza, Rob Adams, Mikkel Hopfladazen rounding out your top 5. Now, looking at some of these drivers, there are still a couple of different drivers coming across the track. One of those drivers is practicing at the moment, Trip Smith. He is near the back of the field, which, if you've been following with the series, this is a mixed grid start, mixed class start, I should say, where track position is key, Dawson.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and I think just the fact that it's mixed makes it a big deal, but also here at Interlagos, you know, I just got this track today, and just a couple quick looks, you know, these twisty bits are going to be a lot of hard passing zones, so getting near the top of this grid is going to be really important for these drivers today.
Yes, it is. Now, of course, we're discussing a little bit of what to expect as a driver here, really. How do you think, especially with your specialties being the Skip Barbers and the MX5s, how these drivers will handle the track today, as you still see Trip Smith making sure he gets his marks right?
Well, I think you mentioned the hill elevations. I think that's going to play a big deal. You know, 2 very long stretches. We have it on the front stretch, and just before turn 4, you have 2 very long stretches. These cars do not have very big engines, so not a lot of time to be made up there based on your exit and all of that. Now, the hills, the elevation changes, I think that really handles with these cars pretty interestingly. You know, the Skip Barber, it's typically a very tame vehicle, you know, not a big engine, not much downforce. So these hills, kind of, it turns interestingly, and if you don't hit it right, you can end up getting the car too loose or even pushing too tight, maybe if you're going uphill. So I think this really is going to be interesting. We'll have to see how many mistakes get made on them elevation changes.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. One thing to note, Sonny Kenshin currently does not have a qualifying time recorded as the top driver of the MX5s, mainly because he was one of the last few drivers to come into the session and might be having to start off from the back today. We'll see how that things develop. as you see Kane Lasky on your screen. Now, we're discussing things a little bit as well. There are two main passing zones here at this track. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those as well, Dawson?
Well, since I didn't have much, I was given a couple tips, and it makes sense once I look more at the track map. The front stretch, very long, and if you've been watching, this weekend was the 2.4 and all these MX-5s out on the track. These guys love to draft, and same thing with these Skip Barbers. All three of these cars have very small engines, and these long straightaways are going to give drivers a chance to get into somebody's draft and maybe make a pass going into one of them turns. Now, the other spot we said just before turn 4, another long straightaway. That's actually a downhill when you talk about your elevation changes. So these cars are going to get a nice run down that hill going into turn 4. And I tell you what, I think it's going to be a lot of action right between them 2 points on the track today.
Yeah, there should be a lot of action, especially with these 21 cars getting set to go on the track. Final seconds of qualifying. He is referring to Cena S and Daciel Delago in the turn names. With that, we're going to head to your starting grid as everything's set to go for all 21 drivers, I should say. Why don't we go 10 at a time, shall we, Dawson? As we'll start off with your first row. Luke Winnan with the fastest time today with a 1 minute 49 second .225 lap time. Fahim Antonides will start alongside him as they come down the front stretch. Enzo Canta and Rob Adams start off in row number 2. Miguel Hafwadazen and Kane Lasky just behind them. Michael S. Wright will start alongside the first of the MX-5s and Michelo Pegjon, while behind them, Jared Irvine and Jason Rosentiles. Dawson?
Starting out row 6, David Gaspers, your first SRF. He will be making the grid starting 11th. Gary Wobolt going to start just outside of him in 12th. Drone Ersvem 13th. Angelo Fiorino 14th. C Love 15th. Trip Smith going to make the 16th spot. Joe McDonald 17th. Jeffrey Gambrell 18th. Sonny Canchin, as we mentioned earlier, the first car to not take a qualifying lap, 19th. And 20th. Richard Vallee.
And the one driver not on that graphic because he's in the lonesome catbird seat, Thomas Kick. As you mentioned, and as you see, 21 drivers and this mixed class start getting all set to go. And what should be an exciting 45-minute race. We've seen a lot of interesting action throughout today. And one of the things that might come up throughout the race, something that back in 2010, one of the main safety car drivers from the Formula 1 mentioned, because of the anti-clockwise system, with the muscle ability set to driving on a clockwise track, it could become tiring to see something that will come up in the next few minutes, at least halfway through this race, Dawson. It's going to be about managing that and possibly pit strategy eventually.
Yeah, we mentioned the pit strategy being really interesting. You're going to make it about 30 minutes. This race, 45. Maybe we see guys cut it in half. And maybe if you're a car and you're stuck in a lot of traffic, you take that pit stop early and avoid getting into all that traffic and maybe short pit it.
And that would be an interesting strategy.
Oh, no.
Definitely good strategy. And my goodness, we already have a bit of an incident before we even take the green flag.
Oh, no. The front row already.
Yeah, we're going to have to check that out, as that was contact between your pole setter Luke Winnan and Fahim Antonides. This is a very tight section, as you see, through the up and downs, going through turn number 11 right now, and Meguo, and coming to one Sal at the moment, June Sal, I should say. But that could be a factor for how this race goes if they have significant damage. Right now, a little bit of front wing damage on Antonides. Luke Winnan does not have damage at the moment.
Boy, drivers dodging a bullet there. I think both of them should be fine. Two very fast drivers, and that little wing on the front doesn't really affect Skippy too much.
Yeah, that's a good thing to hear if you're a driver for sure. The pace car is rolling down towards the final turn, and Arcade Bensades, as they're getting all set to go. All the drivers getting ready to jump on the gas pedal. Luke Winnan gonna get set as the control car. Pace car down into the pits. Green flag is out, and we're underway from Interlagos. And quickly zooming down the front stretch, everybody going 2, 3 wide in the back into a very tight zone. Already 3 wide with some of the Skip Barbers. Hopwood diving in, gonna not be in the best passing position. Enzo Kenta falls into third. Hopwood in fourth. What's going on in the back, Dawson?
Oh, we have our first MX5 Marcelo Pajan. He's going to be sitting currently in 8th, looking to make a pass here. No, he's going to back off and just follow right behind Michael S. Wright.
And Interlagos is one of those passing zones. He is going to dive into the set corner, and he's able to move by for 7th overall spot, as these cars are way behind the top 6 right now. That top 5, I should say. All Skip Barbers right now, pulling away to start off. Luke Whitten, Fahim Antonitis, Enzo Kenta, Miguel Hopwood and Rob Adams. Kane Lasky in 6th overall now is that one Skip Barber that will have to fight for the positions, as you see Marcel Pajan right behind, in between the Skippy sandwich right now. The top SRF right now in the field, David Gaspers.
David off to a pretty decent start here, just stuck behind Jason Rosenthal's. I think he's pretty content with where he's at, not going to push the measure too much. Still a long race to go here.
A long race indeed. As mentioned, the 45 minutes, as we still have as we come around to get ready for the end of the first lap. About 43 minutes on the clock, about 2 minutes to start off this event. As they zoom by Arki Bensadas. Already the top 3 starting to pull away in the Skip Barbers. In fact, 2 wide down the front stretch. Whitten and Antonitis going to battle for position. Antonitis has the lead, and he's got the spot. And already a car getting loose. And Hopwood is able to save it in Senna S. I should say. Senna S. Luckily able to save it there, almost spinning around.
Boy, and that was one of them elevation changes. You can see how that turn just goes downhill. That was a really tough save. Well done by Haffeldason.
Well done indeed right now, as things are starting to shape up. Everyone's starting to get themselves into race form. As you see the top 3 on your screen. Sonny Kenshin, meanwhile, did not record that qualifying time. Started all the way near the back. Already quickly moving his way up to 15th and trying to weave his way through some of these contenders, guys.
Yeah, and you know, Sonny, we know he's fast. That's definitely not the issue, and it's just going to be how far can he get up there. And, you know, tires, these road cars, you can get them angry. You know, that's typically more of an oval thing, but Sonny's going to have to make sure he doesn't use up too much and get to the end of the race where he doesn't have the same grip as the other guys.
We'll keep our eyes on that. As you see now popping up on your screen is that said driver, Sonny Kenshin, the Australian, trying to move by the McDonald's car of Joe McDonald. Still owes a few people some Happy Meals and Big Macs, I believe. But right now, he's right now in that podium spot, McDonald, but it's still early on. As you were seeing just before we were getting to the shot with Kenshin, was that top 3 battle with the Skip Barbers. Again, they're going to go trading positions down the front stretch. Luke Whitten and Antonitis once again going side by side. Luke Whitten able to get the quick pass using the draft, and he is back out front. It is Enzo Kenta just watching behind in that popcorn seat. You're seeing on board with Kenta as he is following behind those 2 drivers that have been going back and forth every single lap so far to start off this race. As Kenta just waiting patiently.
Well, I know another broadcast we do here on the GSRC channel is the Absolute Beginners. I've had the pleasure to be able to broadcast a couple of the races, and we've seen these 3-car breakaways that these Skip Barbers like to have, you know, with this draft. And Enzo Kenta is in a great spot. You know, we talk about saving gas in this draft. He might be able to take the least amount of fuel out of all 3 of these top guys and maybe get a better pit stop and get out in front of them. I like where he's at right now, and just stay patient.
Just stay patient, and things will come to you when someone makes a mistake. The exact mindset I think you mentioned he has at this point, as that is, as we mentioned, the top 3 for your Skip Barbers. Why don't we look through this field right now, because things are getting close throughout the entire grid right now. Let's go back a little bit to where Michael S. Wright, Jared Irvine, and Marcelo Pajan are again getting very close. They almost went bumper to bumper at one section of the track. That would be near Bico de Pato, with where they were starting to get very close. They're starting to separate a bit, but there is the toe potential coming down towards the front stretch. And now we're back to the top three once again. We are going back-to-back, side-by-side, as they battle for the lead. Fahim Antonitis able to poke ahead for the lead, this time by Luke Whitten. Might lose second spot as Enzo Canta able to get into the passing zone and holds on to move into second spot, Dawson.
Ooh, he might not be done yet. He's going to go for the lead, looking to take over the spot, and it's a neck-and-neck race.
And neck indeed. You see Luke Whitten trying to figure out who to follow. Enzo Canta files back into line. He takes the lead. And like you said, patience that time pays off, gets him out of the front in the early going.
Oh boy, he just had to follow Fahim right around Luke Whitten, and he just fell into a perfect spot to make that pass. Well done by Enzo.
Well done indeed. Enzo Canta having a good start to the season throughout this year so far. And there's a reason Canta is in that spot. Let's go to Joe McDonald, as he has now been passed by Sonny Kenshin. You see a bunch of traffic right in the mix of things that he is having to deal with right now. As you see Joe McDonald surrounded by SRFs, by his fellow teammates, or fellow competitors, I should say as well. Trip Smith is that MX-5 at the back of that train.
Boy, these MX-5s, you know, you talk about the Spec Racer Fords. I think out of all these cars, the MX-5 might be the car that benefits the least out of draft. Having it being a little bit heavier than all these SRFs, they look like go-karts, and that's basically what they are.
Now with the SRFs, a lot of things have to be paid attention to, and that is in part making sure you don't have severe damage, because if you do have damage, it can really end off your day with those SRFs, especially with the car depending on the toe. We're going to now go up to Rob Adams, as he's now battling for a position with Mikkel Hopfadazen. And this is coming down the front stretch. He dives it in and moves into fourth spot. A quick change of position once again. Once again, that front stretch being the perfect passing zone coming into Senna S.
Boy, I believe we missed a pass for the lead also. Enzo lost his spot to Fahim Antidones.
That is Antonitis you were mentioning there.
Antonitis.
Able to move on by. You see that on your screen right now. And as you see right now, Enzo Canta falling back a little bit. But again, this is where this is a slower part of the track. Curvo de la Benya, as they're going through the Little Orange, as it's called, in this little section right here. And meanwhile, as you continue to watch this battle, very intense. Everyone just trying to position themselves for the proper exit, especially out of Sabaka de boxes, to make sure you're able to get the run into Arque Bensadis to be able to move up. And we're going to see exactly that, how things space out. You see two drivers already going on the defensive line. That's Antonitis already hugging the bottom. Enzo Canta also on the bottom. Luke Whitten had a higher exit, and he's going to be farther on back, going into the front stretch, past the start and finish line. And you're seeing Enzo Canta using the toe, going to try and work as hard as he can here. Canta within a tenth right now, dives it back on in, and they're going to go too wide into Senna S. Able to make the pass, Enzo Canta. Can he hang on to the spot? He's going to touch the gravel and grass a little bit. And look at this, Luke Whitten right on behind them, potential 3 wide. He's going to back off. Enzo Canta still holding on as they are still 2 by 2. And right now, take a look at this. This is going to be coming into the Ciel del Lago. One of those other passing zones to watch for. Canta gets the advantage by a nose out of the corner. They are still 2 wide, with Luke Whitten now looking to make things very interesting. And Antonitis is in the better lane for that corner. They went side by side. Antonitis able to get the lead as Kanta moves and shuffles back. And my goodness, contact coming into the corner. Just hitting the nose there, and Antonitis is loose. Antonitis will spin right into the grass, and he is in the infield, falling way on back. Enzo Kanta takes the lead in what was a disastrous situation. Dawson?
Boy, Antonitis' car not looking very good. It's crab walking, and he might be done for the day. But boy, let's look at the replay here real quick. And, you know, this close racing this entire time, and it was bound to get this close. I was kind of shocked that we were making moves like this, but you end up, it ends badly for Antonitis. Just a shame.
A big time shame indeed for him. That is going to knock him way down the totem pole. Enzo Kanta now in the lead after that situation. He has no more front wing whatsoever now as Luke Whitten is going to go side by side. Another pass for the lead down the front stretch. And Luke Whitten easily zooms on by. Now, as mentioned, Enzo Kanta no longer has his front wing. How is that going to affect his car at this point, especially now with that opening up the door for Hofladezen and Adams, as well as Lasky behind them?
Yeah, you know, these guys, they were also making passes, but I think now they need to recognize that, hey, we're only about 2 seconds behind these guys. Let's work together, not race each other too much, and maybe try and catch that front pack.
Yeah, now it's going to be a bit easier. Enzo Kanta, as you've seen, was able to make the pass again, but Luke Whitten is in the better driving line as he's going to get into the inside, and Ferradura and able to get the spot in the Curva de la Benya and able to hold on to it, diving it on in. And this is where that incident happened in Peñarino, also known as the Small Pine Tree Corner, and able to get the lead back. Luke Whitten, it's already closing on in, just a second and a half back as Hofladezen into the battle for the lead in the Skip Barbers.
They've entered the... They've checked in on the... Let's check in on the lower class. Here, Marcelo Pajan, he is still your leader in the MX-5. Sonny Canchin is making up some ground. He's up into second overall for the MX-5s. David Gasper is doing a great job as well in that Spec Racer Ford.
Yes, I was just about to get to that, of course, with those lower classes. David Gasper's in the top 10. Sonny Canchin, he has been absolutely moving his way through the field, as you just mentioned. 8 spots for him. David Gasper still in a bit of a close situation. But it's going to be a bit farther back from C. Love, who's in second spot. That car behind that you see there is Gary Wobolt, who is in 10th spot overall in the Skip Barbers, 8th in the class, and maybe trying to use this SRF, the Spec Racer 4, to gain a little bit of speed in the toe. Let's move up towards the front, shall we? As that is where the battles are getting more intense. Rob Adams, Miguel Hofladezen, once again going to swap positions as they dive it on into turn number 4, going too wide. Kane Lasky just on behind them, and Hofladezen is in the better driving line as he's going to hang on, approaching turn number 6, moves back out in front.
Boy, Kane Lasky, he's been able to jump right back into this picture as well. We've seen these Spec Racers now. We're very close to having a pack of about 5, all going to be battling for the lead later on.
And we're going to see on board Kane Lasky right now at the back of that train in the top 5 for the Skip Barber class. And you can see again, similar to Enzo Canna's situation at the start of the race, in that popcorn spot, ready to pop whenever somebody makes a single mistake. As right now, that group is about 2.4 seconds behind the leaders now, Luke Whitten and Enzo Kanta, as last time by. It was, though, the faster cars were Miguel Hofladezen and Rob Adams. Enzo Kanta, we're going to have to see how the lap times compare without his front wings. As you see, coming towards the front stretch, pardon me, Dawson. Again, another position swap. Quickly, Rob Adams again makes the swap to get to third in the Skip Barbers. Dawson.
Hofladezen's still not very far behind. Not going to maybe take an attempt here. No. Looking now, maybe. But Havelday's going to run wide. Now you talked about Kane Lasky here. He's going to pop back into the picture.
Yeah, pop back into the picture. And again, seen as Hafleday's on the outside. This is where it's going to get interesting because usually the driver on the inside in the past few laps in turn number 4, unable to hold on to the spot because he's on the outside by turn 6, 7, 8. And now you can see Hafleday's using the outside to his advantage and is going to pull away again. Another position swap once again with those battles. Luke Whitten just in front of him, then meanwhile comfortably able to hang on. And still, even without the front wing, guys, Luke Whitten, Enzo Canna still a second faster than the 3 you see on your screen.
Boy, I think that last lap, Luke Whitten has stayed in front and Kanta has just followed him, and I think that makes a huge difference. You know, Rob Adams and Michael Hafeldayson switching spots, they end up losing almost a second to these guys. I know it's hard to do, but I think if they really want to get into that picture for that top 3, you're going to have to stop fighting and work together.
Yeah, they're going to have to all work together. As you see, as you see on your screen, pardon me, that Luke Whitten and Enzo Canna still driving off a little bit. Still 28 minutes to go in this race. And Miguel Hafleday's just on behind them. You see that gap starting to form up. Able to get a little bit of a big run, especially through the section of turn 11, turn 12. And you see the position battle. Enzo Canna going to try and dive in. And he is going to do so. Enzo Canna able to get the spot. Luke Whitten falls back to second once again swapping spots down the straightaways.
Now Enzo going to be under pressure here by Luke Whitten. Yet again, we get to the second straightaway, the one we talked about a long time ago. He makes that pass, and he will retain the position.
Yeah, this has been going back and forth, really. The second you think is going to settle down, well, it heats back on up. It's like a microwave oven, so to speak. You press some buttons, it turns back on. You think it turns off in some cases with a broken microwave, it keeps on keeping going. If that makes sense, why don't you? Why don't we check in with some of these air drivers in some of the back classes right now? Marcel Pajan still in 8th spot overall in the MX-5s, guys, as he has got a 4.7 second gap over Sonny Kenshin, but that has been closing more and more, as Kenshin, once again, like mentioned, has improved by 8 spots since the drop of the green flag, and just taking advantage of the situation, now down to 2 seconds back, really, as he goes through this section of the track with some SRFs right behind him. Those are David, those are behind him. Angelino Ferrino and C. Love. Those are second and third in the SRF class behind him. And before you ask, and this is the position battle, and we're going to stick with this one, as this is going to be potentially setting up for the front stretch, or potentially by turn 4 in the passing zones. As you see right now, they have been going back and forth. The last time by, it was C. Love, who is the guy who started at the line in second in the class, and wanting his spot back, as you're seeing on your screen, with Ferrino right in front of them. That is Joe McDonald, just a few car lengths right in front of these two beautiful cars in the SRFs. C. Love trying to get some tow, moving down the front stretch. It is currently about a 1 km/h difference between these two different drivers, as they're going to go down the front stretch by the Arc Ben Sadas, and trying to get a little bit of tow maybe from the MX-5 in front of them. C. Love trying to position himself for the pass, getting close to the back bumper, but can't get underneath quite yet.
The lockup there as well.
And the lockup going to lead to the bad exit. A little bit of time lost out of the Senna S section through Curva de Sceaux, also known as the Sun's Curve, as there was a car you seen stopped on the track. That was a Skip Barber. And that was Jared Irvine. We're getting word of. We're going to check out your GSRC replay. Yes, he spun all the way into the grass patches. We're going to see what caused that. You're seeing that now on your screen as it was a position battle. He was now, as you see, 9th in the spot, but he was approaching that top 5 grouping side by side in the section. As you see, the Aussie diving to the inside, able to make the pass, and then just gets a nudge from behind, spins around, and damages the back wing and loses him a ton of time. And now he is just so happens to be dead last on the grid right now, possibly trying to get some slight repairs. And it also damaged the suspension, as our director notes, and easy to note when you hit the tire walls.
Yeah, and that without the quick repair, we'll have to see if he can make his way back. Now, I believe, just as I was looking there, Jason Rosenthal's, he has made his pit stop already.
Yeah, that's an interesting fact to bring up. 21.9 seconds was his stop. He is at the back of the field for the Skip Barbers. And that could be that pit strategy being brought up there, where you could possibly take a quick splash at the start of the race, rather than when everyone else is starting to dive in and try and take advantage of pit delta. It's something that might pop up later on in the race. We're going to have to watch for sure, as you see the position battles again for the top 3 in the said class, as Rob Adams currently in 4th spot, Miguel Hoplodazen back to 3rd, Kane Lasky back to 5th. You see them getting all set through the slower parts of the track, getting set to zoom their way down the front stretch. Hoplodazen has been the one to be able to get the quickest through this section of the track, as you see, trying to get some kind of separation here, Dawson.
Yeah, and I think you talk about separation. They've actually been separated from the 2 leaders. Now, we talked before, they were about 2 seconds behind Enzo and Luke. Now they're up to 5, and Bearing just falling into the 6-second gap. So they're going to have to see if they're just not getting the same amount of speed through these fast corners as Luke and Enzo.
And speaking of speed, take a look at this again. Rob Adams going on the outside this time, trying to make a move, has to back off. Hoplodazen keeps the position, but Adams maybe thought of diving it in, has to back off. Hoplodazen best through that section, and that opens the door for Kane Lasky for 4th spot. Kane Lasky will go to the inside. They are 2 by 2. As this is going to be interesting. Kane Lasky backs on off. Hoplodazen goes on the defensive line, back into the main racing line, and he'll just dive it on in 4th spot. No one going to take the risk right now on this time by, with 22 minutes to go in this one. And just to mention, with the leaders, Luke Whitten is the one in front. He's got about a 9th of a 10th second lead, or a full second lead, I should say, over Enzo Canta. And as mentioned, about 5.6 seconds between Miguel Hoplodazen and Luke Whitten on the track, as you're seeing Enzo Canta on your screen.
Boy, if Enzo falls back too much farther, he's going to put at risk of losing Luke's draft, and that will put him, without that toe, he's going to fall into the clutches of Hoplodazen and Adams, so he's got to make sure he gets these last couple corners really well.
And speaking of corners, something else you have to make sure you get your corners through with the pit retaining walls. Garrett Woolbolt also taking an early pit strategy for the Skip Barbers. Pardon me. Yes, for the Skip Barbers, pardon me. As you see, he is one of the first of 2 drivers coming in for the class. Jerome Ursum also decided to bring it on in on a similar strategy. We're going to go back to the position battles meanwhile. Rob Adams, Miguel Hoplodazen, and Kane Lasky, all of them going back and forth down the track, trying to make some moves, and Hoplodazen able to get back to 3rd as he zooms by Rob Adams. You've seen everyone trying to break the momentum really going down the front stretch, and in the result, you see Miguel Hoplodazen able to get back to 3rd, but Rob Adams, as you see, has to focus on the car behind him, Kane Lasky. And Kane Lasky going to keep it single file, not going to make any moves or risk quite yet, as we are still just past the halfway point here in the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series.
we're starting to get really close to that pit window where guys are going to have to take that pit stop. So we'll have to see when that happens and when our leaders do it, if they all do it at once or maybe split it up.
We're going to have to see what the thought process is. It becomes the must pit window, really, that starts to open, I should say, in the next 5 minutes. We're going to have to see what they decide to do. Why don't we go and look at some of the other position battles, shall we, or positions going on in the other classes. As the Skip Barbers continue to trade back and forth, Marcel Pajan is still in the lead in the MX-5s, as he still has about a 7-second gap over Sonny Kenshin, who is on the other side of turn number 9 in the Small Pine Tree section. He has been closing up this gap and fast with the pit strategies. They are both in the top 10, 7th for Pajan. Kenshin is in 8th. David Gaspers, he's got a gigantic run in gap over his second place driver. 29 seconds over C. Love right now for Gaspers. And you see on your screen how he is following Kenshin right on behind him, even following him right into the grass, why don't you? Just trying to use him to get any kind of separation he can, as right now Gaspers continue to look to have a strong time. Only multi-winner in the season so far for the SRF class.
Boy, what a guy to hook a ride onto, Sonny Kenshin. We know he's been fast, the standings say so and all of that, but now you get to have your spec racer just follow in his draft, and you know he's plenty fast. I think that's been a big help to Gaspers.
I think so too, and it has definitely showed at this point, especially with the gap continuing to grow up to 31 seconds, as you see that the top 2 of your class leaders all on the same screen as they continue to pick up their times. Now, why don't we go through some of these other battles going on to something to watch for, as right now you are going to see one of those said situations where C. Love is trying to close the gap. He is trying to work with a Skip Barber right now. That is Gary Woolbolt. He is trying to hook onto the back to close up the gap. And right now, one thing to note as well, we got another MX-5 into the pit stops. Trip Smith following the same strategy as Jerome Ursum. And this is now the second car in the class to go for the pit stop, as he is out in a way working through this pit section. One of the most recent changes to the track. At one point, you were able to exit out of the pits, out of that section, just out of Senna S. And now you have to wait all the way until you reach the longest straight on the track, the opposite straight. And we're going to go back to the Skip Barbers, because it has been back and forth still for top 3. Miguel Hopwood still in 3rd spot. Rob Adams in 4th right now, and trying to close on, as Kane Lasky is still in 5th spot. He's been very patient throughout this run as they zoom their way into the Sol de Lago. And you can see the wide exit there from Hopwood, unable to take advantage though with that wide exit, Rob Adams, as this is still an interesting train to watch. Again, possibly might see one of them mix it up. Hopwood has a very wide exit and entrance, I should say, into Curvo Loan Beja, as he is going to lose a position to Rob Adams, having to go wide again. Falls back to 4th. King Lasky, he's the one who has to suffer the most, because he had to go wide himself through that tight section through Bico de Pato, or just out towards Bico de Pato, I should say.
Boy, the amount of passes that these 3 cars alone have made in this race probably outnumber everyone else's. I mean, it's just been action back and forth and back and forth. Now, I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but now they're up to almost 9 seconds behind Luke Witten, so he's definitely pulling a gap on these guys.
Make that almost 10 seconds to Luke Witten, as we have a stop coming in. Enzo Canta has brought it on in from 2nd spot.
Boy, smart move here for Enzo. He was about a second and almost a half behind, so he didn't have that draft anymore, so he decided to pit it and just maybe get that car fixed so he's back up to 100%.
That might be part of the strategy, but there's also the risk if you try and get those repairs that you stay in too long. You see the exact thing there. Kane Lasky, you see following him on in with an 8.8 second stop for Enzo Kenta. Kane Lasky, he's out and away, 8.7 stop. And right behind them, someone else making his error stop in the Skip Barbers. In fact, I think that is still Jared Irvine. And you've seen Kane Lasky was the first of that top 3 battle to move out. And speaking of Jared Irvine, guess who is rolling his way out of the pits? Jared Irvine. Finally able to finish up his repairs. He is still in the top 10 for the class. So he has that potential, if someone else has an issue, to move up a couple spots in this race.
Boy, now we'll have to watch. Does Luke Witten bring it into the pits as well? He's your leader right now, going through a little bit of traffic. We'll have to see this time by.
Yeah, and the traffic right in front of him, that is Jason Rosentiles. And one of the things discussed last week with our broadcast crew was dealing with lap traffic in your own class. And that could be something of a situation to watch for Luke Witten. Might be close to that. You're seeing on your screen the estimated laps to go at 9 laps to go in this event. Luke Witten will keep it on out as he is going to continue to try and use the toe of that car right in front of him and immediately tries to zoom on by. Rosentiles does exactly that.
Well, another thing that will be going for Luke Witten will be that he will have to take less gas than everybody else did. He will be lighter overall, and you know, he might be able to shorten up and maybe create a gap to Enzo.
And speaking of gas, take a look who's getting gas. Miguel Hopwodazen comes and brings it in. He was also part of that battle for the top 3. Rob Adams is now on his own. How quickly does Hopwodazen bring it on in here? As it's going to be a 10.5, the longest stop for the class so far outside of the cars on early strategy. Almost sliding his way through the pit exit. It's Richard Valley is also going to bring it in the first of the Spec Racer Fords right on behind him. And Valley's got a ton of damage too. So he is somebody that's had a bit of a rough day, so to speak. Still in 4th in the class, even with that front damage. And we'll let you know as soon as we can what exactly is going on with that machine. But he's still one of the first cars to go in the class. Might be able to maybe take some kind of advantage since Jeffrey Grambrell is way on behind him and off the track for what has been most of the race. He is guaranteed 4th regardless.
Back to that point on Richard, he's been dealing with that damage for a long time. So I zoomed back almost 4 laps and he still had it. So he might have been losing a lot of time there.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that could affect him. Speaking of the SRFs, C Love brings it on into the pits. And he just lost a couple seconds because he overshot his pit stall. And now the guy in 3rd spot, Angelino Ferrieno, going to follow him right on in. Going to come and get fuel. Also overruns his stall by a couple feet. C Love, 11 seconds. And this is going to try and get maybe a bit quicker. No, it's much, much slower. 11.2. And he's going to come out on for Angelino Ferrieno right on behind. That is your top 3 right now, with David Gasper still out on track. The only driver in the SRFs not to bring it in. Well, that's about to change, and exactly about to change, as Sonny Kenshin in the MX-5s is going to come in right on in front of them. And Marcel Pajan also going to bring it in as well, getting fuel. Everybody coming in as soon as they can, really, with just 7 laps estimated to go in this event. Sonny Kenshin, he's out and away. And could this be quick enough to get to the back bumper of who he wants to get to in Pajan? And it's going to be out and away. Sonny Kenshin, a 0.6 of a second faster stop than Marcel Pajan for today's race for the pit stop. And that is going to absolutely close up the gap to just a 1.5 seconds. That is going to absolutely heat up because of pit strategy and how Sonny Kenshin has worked his way back through this field.
Boy, basically just everybody pitting so far. Luke Witten, he's going to maybe bring it down this time. No, he stays out again. Luke Witten, one of the cars that has not pitted yet, along with Rob Adams and Joe McDonald.
Well, when you're the fastest car on the track, there's not as much incentive really to bring it on in quite yet. For Rob Adams, there is the incentive since he's in second. He's going to bring it on in right now. Nearly drives down, gets to the speed limit. Just below the speed limit for pit road, 45 miles per hour. And he's going to try and get some gas. One of the last drivers, in fact, the second to last driver in the class to go into the pits. The only drivers now who have not brought it in, Joe McDonald and Luke Witten. And you see Rob Adams quickly getting the stop there. Dawson?
Boy, I'm just shocked that Luke's been out there this long compared to everybody else. We'll have to see when these stops cycle through if guys like Enzo or maybe even Rob Adams are able to close up that gap.
You'll have to see, but take a look at this pit exit. But you see, just as this shows up now on your screen, pardon me, Rob Adams, he was almost side by side with Miguel Hopfladazen, and that puts him right back to where he was in that battle, really. You know who has benefited? The guy who was stuck in fifth for much of that position battle, Kane Lasky. He is up onto the podium spot in third with Angelino Fiorino able to work with. And it instantly zooms on by and has some bit of separation really between him and the rest of those position battles. It's about a 2-second difference between Lasky and Hopfladazen.
Joe McDonald in to make his pit.
And Joe McDonald quickly going to get his fuel. He is currently in 4th spot in the MX-5s. And he is immediately going to come in. Look who's coming in behind him. That is your last driver to come in. Luke Witten, the leader for the Skip Barbers. Now take a look. Enzo Canta zooming his way towards the front stretch. Approaching the final turn, Arke Bensadas. And immediately zooming on by Luke Witten. He's out of the pit stalls, out of pit lane, going through the pit exit, while Enzo Canta is still having to work through Senna S. And it's going to be an absolutely big-time gap, still 5.5 seconds. As you see Canta zooming by the pit exit, Luke Witten, he's already just about at turn number 4. Absolutely able to take advantage with the speed he's had all day. The second fastest time on the track, yes, but he, before the pit stop, was by far the fastest still on the track by a full 0.4 of a second. And we have a position battle. It's the MX-5, Sonny Kenshin. He has been working his way through the field all day long for this. He is now in the battle for the lead with Pajan for the MX-5 lead. Working his way past the Sun's curve as they're going to approach the longest straight on the track. It's not the fastest, but it is approaching that passing zone. You're seeing on the back end, watching back as Sonny Kenshin trying to find any kind of opening with 5 estimated laps to go. Kenshin near the back door, unable to poke his way underneath quite yet. As you can see, Pajan still trying to use the defensive line. Kenshin trying to use the toe down to a 10th, trying to poke his way, has to back up, and immediately still very close between these two drivers. And this is still back to 4th. These are 2 teammates too, so I think at this point, teammates, you may as well throw that aspect out the window with 6 minutes to go when it comes to the lead in the class for the Ashbury Motorsports teammates.
Well, boy, as long as you don't wreck each other, you'll be fine. Just maybe don't give your owner a scare too much.
Yeah, you don't want to give your owner a heart attack when you try and replace cars in real life or virtually. As you see, they are matching line for line. Pajan trying to make sure he does not leave any gap available for Kenshin. As they zoom their way down the track past the luxury boxes and heading towards the front stretch. Pajan with the defensive line, but Kenshin has the toe lane, and Kenshin going to move to the outside. They're going to go side by side as they approach the start and finish line. There's that start and finish line as they are still side by side. Pajan able to hold the bottom. Kenshin almost got loose on the entrance. Able to hang on to it. Moves back to single file, and he'll try and rewind once again with still less than 5 minutes to go.
Boy, Kenshin was just ripping that steering wheel left to right to keep that thing going straight. Nice job.
And now Kenshin's going to move immediately to the inside. Tries to think about it. Has to go back as they are going to move once again back to single file. Still single file here as this is the most high-intense position battle on the track. Pajan and Kenshin still bumper to bumper. Pajan able to get separation as Kenshin tried to go a bit faster in the entry. Pajan not as quick on that entry, and Kenshin's able to close the gap he had back up. And going back and forth off the rumble strips, approach Pico de Pato. And quickly but calmly able to move on. Pajan with his skull face, wanting to focus on the task at hand, trying to keep the Australian dominant driver, Sonny Kenshin, in his back mirror.
You know, we see in other classes how they get this run down the stretch and this draft makes such a big deal. In these MX-5s, it's not as much. It's a little less dependent on that toe.
A little less dependent, but look at this. They are too wide as they come towards the original start and finish line. They are side by side as they zoom on by the grandstands. Kenshin able to get by a nose, but Pajan still on the bottom side. And immediately dives it back to a single file situation. Kenshin is not letting up whatsoever.
I think if Pajan keeps taking that defensive line going into turn one there, he should be okay. It's going to be a really tough pass for Sonny to make. He might need to wait and maybe try and take it onto this corner right here later on.
He might be thinking exactly that, thinking of his options. Still 2 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. As this is about a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps to go for these MX-5s. Pajan and Kenshin still bumper to bumper. In your art classes to keep up to advantage, Luke Whitten still leads in the Skip Barbers, David Gaspers in the SRFs. They are both nearly secured for their positions. This is by far the most intense position battle on the track, as Pajan still hanging on. Approaching Pico de Pato again, Kenshin still on his back bumper. They zoom right on by Maguhao and approaching Nin Unsao. And right out of Junsao and able to drive through, Pajan still has the advantage. Calmly but surely making their way. You're seeing Jason Rosentiles now on your screen way near the back, as that is Joe McDonald, who is still in the fourth spot for the class. And meanwhile, we're going to go back to the front. Look at this, the crossover move from Kenshin to get to the bottom. Pajan moved to the high side as they are going to go side by side. Kenshin able to buy as they have contact. Pajan's going to get loose. He's going to go into the gravel, into the side pavement, I should say. And he's going to lose a ton of time as Kenshin is able to get the lead in a big-time separation to your GSRC replay, Dawson.
Oh my goodness, Sonny, he went high and made that turn really early trying to fight to that low side. Let's take a quick look at that. Oh boy, you can see he's starting out a little bit wide and then he crosses over down to that inside. And oh man, but John, he was going to block it, but he realized he couldn't do that. And then the contact there. And I believe that's just about going to end that race.
Yeah, right now the gap is up to almost 7 seconds. In fact, past 7 seconds. Pajan is having a big-time difficulty keeping up. And from that hitting the near back, he did possibly maybe get damaged. He is way off the pace. Running through these corners on the track at about 90, less than 80 miles per hour now. So he might have damaged something on that machine. Maybe not externally, but something mechanically, as David Gaspers is going to zoom on by possibly in the SRFs. But we are going to go to your Skip Barbers, because while that was going on, the white flag came out, as Luke Whitten is still in front by 7.5 seconds over Enzo Canta. A full second faster than the remaining part of the field for the Skip Barbers today, as Luke Whitten has been one of the most dominant drivers on the track, going to keep on working his way through the corners. And he's still got about a couple seconds to work his way and weave his way through the track, as he's got a couple more turns to go. Zooming by Unsal and coming right on by the luxury box section. One more turn, that turn number 15, as Z zooms on by. Remember, the start and finish line is a little bit earlier here, as they are going to go and approach that start and finish line section. Luke Whitten dominates his way at Interlagos and wins in the Skip Barber class. And let's look at who's next, because Sonny Kenshin currently next up behind. He's got a full 15-second gap over your SRF leader. He started.
We have a move here in the Skip Barbers. We got Kane Lasky and Michael Hafeldason crossing the finish line side by side. Sorry, let's go back to Sonny.
Yeah, and again, that battle we were discussing, once again activating itself, as now getting back to Sonny Kenshin, because he was able to work his way with no qualifying time from the back of the pack to come from last to first in his class. Sonny Kenshin, with an absolutely dominating performance, with just a couple turns to go, will seal things off and add another victory to his repertoire. His third victory comes from Interlagos in the Sports Car Challenge Series, in a dominant performance for Sonny Kenshin. And right on behind them, David Gaspers. He is almost at that same section. He also dominated his way in the Spec Racer Fords today. A calm race for him, and he'll calmly take the checker flag as he wins in the SRF class. And what an exciting race with these position battles, especially near the end. And we're going to take a quick break, get our fresh air, maybe get some oxygen tanks. You're watching the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series live from Interlagos on GSRC. And welcome back, everyone, to Sao Paulo, Brazil. After what was an absolutely thrilling race, especially with some of the finishes for some of these classes, why don't we look at the results here? As you'll see on your screen, Luke Whitten came away with the victory today in the Skip Barber class by 7 seconds over Enzo Canta. As Luke Whitten, he was up at the front grouping for the entire race, was able to eventually separate himself out. Kane Lasky, as you've seen with Miguel Hopwodazen, very, very close finish in that one. Just about a couple hundredths of a second separating third and fourth. That is the difference between the podium and sitting just below it on a chair. As Rob Adams finished out in the top 5, Michael S. Wright very quietly finished off in 6th spot. That is 48 seconds back of Luke Whitten. Sonny Kenshin, you've seen on your screen, had a thrilling race, moving his way through the field, starting off in 19th spot. That is the lowest in the class, and working his way to the top of the podium in the MX-5s in 7th overall. David Gaspers, he also had a fairly quiet day, but with the Spec Racer Fords, fairly clean. Sometimes that's the best way to get the checker flag, is come out with the least scratches. Marcel Bajan, he got some damage after that incident, as you've seen on your screen with a close battle between Kenshin and Bajan. He finished off in 9th. Gary Woolbolt rounds out your top 10. Dawson has the remaining parts of the results. Dawson?
Jerome Sven, he will take the final podium spot for the MX-5s, finishing 11th overall. Jason Rosenthal's 12th. Joe McDonald in the McDonald's MX-5 going to finish 13th. Trip Smith 14th. C Love, he will take as 15th overall, but on the side note, he did get 2nd overall out of them Spec Racer Fords. Angelino Fiorino, gonna finish 16th. Richard Vallee, 17th. Jared Irvine caught into a little bit of damage, but he was able to get his Skippy back out on track. Good to see that. He will finish 18th. Freem Antidones, 19th. Jeffrey Gambrell, 20th. And Thomas Kick to round out the field.
Yes, an exciting field indeed, as we are going to celebrate, or interview I should say, some of your top drivers. And let's start off with someone who came through the field to win in the MX-5s, Sonny Kenshin. Sonny Kenshin, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can.
Thank you very much, Sonny. You had an absolutely thrilling race today, moving your way through the field, starting all the way in the back in 19th, and coming away 7th overall and getting the victory in the MX-5s. How did you work your way through the field like you did today?
Well, I just woke up, and because it's been a long night. I've been racing the special event Roar back to back, and I couldn't sleep anymore. So I just woke up and I realized it's on the league. How can I miss this one? So here I am. Even though I missed quali, I took that as a challenge, and what seemed impossible, I knew lap after lap that I was finding my rhythm, and as soon as I got comfortable, and then my main target was my teammate Marcello. I just want to say I don't know what happened, how it happened. Apologies to Marcello. Sorry to see that we weren't able to finish side by side to the checkered, but it was a great race overall.
Yeah, it was a great race, and like you said, an exciting battle. Oh, really, that had that situation here. Really, how was it working your way through the traffic as you did throughout the race today to try and close up the gap to your teammate from Ashbury Motorsports?
Yeah, I must say one of the major amazing things I must say, just amazing things about what I've noticed about this league is how courteous the drivers are, even though we all race different cars. I mean, loads of differences on the straight, on the corners. I mean, the courteous, it's amazing. You just want to keep coming back and racing, and that's what just happened with David. I mean, I took advantage of his draft, and then after I passed him, he let me pass, and then that was what it is all about, racecraft, and then he got the advantage of I mean, mutually, it was just, and it helped me just get up to Marcello at the pits. That's what I was waiting for, and it all worked out.
Got it all worked out indeed here. But really, coming up in the next few weeks, next week, I should say, you go to almost an equally hilly track at Laguna Seca. What is your preparation going to be for that, and how would you compare that to today's race at Interlagos?
I mean, if today's race was insane, in my sense, I love this track. I mean, my most favorite track in iRacing is Laguna. I mean, I don't know, not all agree with me, even my teammates won't, but I mean, I can't wait for it. I hope it's going to be ×2 the fun I had this one, and I can't wait for it. And looking forward to racing with y'all.
We'll look forward to seeing you and see if you can do a similar performance as Jerome Ursum put it this way: an insane drive from you, Sonny. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you. I just want to say thanks, Jeroen, for letting me by, and also everyone, Luke and David, for a fantastic finish, rounding up the winners in the classes, and to all the drivers who finished the race. Thank you very much. See you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. That was Sonny Kenshin, who came away with the victory today in the MX-5s. Now we're going to bring in your next driver, who Dawson will be talking to in this one. This would be your winner in the SRFs today, David Gaspers. He had a fairly quiet day moving his way forward, but Dawson, take it away.
All right, David, let's just start off. How are you doing, bud?
Fine. It was a lot of fun the race, trying to keep up with Sonny later on.
Yeah, you know, we kind of look at through the basic, speeds of each car, and the Spec Racer was probably the slowest car, but you were able to keep up with Sonny, it seemed like, for most of the race.
Yeah, but only because of a draft. My car is about a second slower than the Master.
Yeah, that draft, it was a big part of the race tonight, and, we saw that the draft, you were able to get around guys. Were you just relying on Sonny to tow you away, or were there other guys you had to draft with?
I drove alone pretty much all of the race. One of the skippies sat behind me, but he didn't attack me. And later on, I tried to keep up with Sonny, but I had to push really hard and almost lost it once. And after that, I just drove to the finish.
Well, you did a great job. Comparing to the rest of the Spec Racer Fords, you blew the field away. Interlagos has a lot of them elevation changes. How did you deal with the hills and stuff? Did it present a problem for you, or were you able to kind of keep it under control?
It isn't really a problem in this car if you enter the corner in the right way. If you release too much on the throttle, the car will spin most likely, but other than that, it's fine.
All right, well, next week you get to head out to Laguna Seca, and kind of the same thing, with the corkscrew there. You have a big elevation change. Are you confident at Laguna?
To be honest, I hate that track.
Well, me too, so I guess we can share that. But you know what? Good luck to you, and congratulations on your win today.
Thank you.
All right, that is David Gaspers, your Spec Racer Ford winner today. Justin, who's our next interview?
Our next interview, the guy who came away second overall, and that includes second in the Skip Barbers, Enzo Canta. Enzo, you had a bit of a wild race at some points. Tell us how you feel about this race.
Hi guys, how I feel? I feel very, very sad because I rear-ended my friend Fahim, and it was the last thing I would do in this race. I had a little slower pace than him and Luke, my friend too. And but during the first laps, I found the pace, and after we broke the train with the other cars, I was trying to create a bit of fun with between me, Fahim, and Luke, in order to only battle with fun and give some show for the audience. But in that time, I was sure there was enough space for him to take the corner, but it was completely my fault. It was a rookie fault, and I completely destroyed his rear suspension. It was a very pity. I'm very sorry because I was expecting a very exciting race between 3 cars. We could battle till the end of the race, giving a good show for you and the audience, and have fun. So I'm so sad. So yeah, what I can say.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, and of course, thank you for all the comments from that basically too. But now, of course, shifting things to the focus to next week, what are your quick thoughts really on the circuit for next week?
What's the circuit for next week? Zolder?
Laguna Seca.
Oh, Laguna Seca. Yeah, I really like that track. I hope. I think it will be a very hard track because it is not too much longer. So we will see surely a lot of traffic, and it was important to start in the first positions and choose and do a good choice for the moment in which you go to the pit, because if you come back in the track in the middle of the traffic, it will be troubles. So it will be a very interesting race, perhaps more than today's one. Finally, I have to say congratulations to Luke, because he deserved the victory. It had a little faster pace than mine, but I damaged my front wing after the contact with Fahim, so it was impossible for me to recover the gap. In every straight, I lost a little bit of speed, so I tried the undercut, but it didn't work. So again, congratulations to Luke, and my apologies to my friend Fahim.
Thank you very much for the time, Enzo, and congratulations as well for finishing off in second. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview.
And that was Enzo Canta finishing off second today in the Skip Barbers, pardon me, for today. We have one last interview. Miguel Hafwadason will be with Dawson Brock. Dawson?
Oh, Michael, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling sweaty after that finish to the race. It was super tight.
Oh boy, you know, we had a 2-car breakaway for most of the race with Enzo and Luke, but you were part of that 3-car group that just seemed to all the
Dawson,
you passed 5 times. Was that?
I think he's pretty gone right now.
Yeah, pardon there, but basically I think what was Dawson was asking really in part was the close battle really that was going on throughout much of this race in the top 3. How did you work your way through this race today, and in the end finish side by side really for the top 3 spot to get on the podium, you finishing off in 4th?
Well, I didn't actually have a plan for the race. I haven't practiced anything. I had 5 or 6 practice laps on the pre-testing on this session, and I was just gonna take it as it goes. And yeah, the leaders had a bit of trouble. Again, it's sorry Fahim had to end the race early because he was looking really fast. And yeah, when I come into the pits, I saw nobody else follow me, so I was scared I'm gonna lose the draft and then fall back. But it worked out, and I was super fast in the end. I think, if I may say it, I was the fastest skippy on track in the last 2 laps, because I was pushing and sweating like hell, but came up 0.02 of a second. I think it was too short.
Yeah, very close finish there between you and Kane Lasky. And on that last lap, you were just 0.2 off of Luke Whitten. That shows how much pace you were working through for the entire race, really. Talk us what you were feeling when you were getting towards that final section of the track, going side by side to try and get yourself onto the podium.
Well, my setup was a little bit more built for the corners, so I knew I had worse speed on the straight, so I knew I had to be close, but I didn't want to overtake him in the last corner also, because then I knew he would fly past me, because I've seen his straight line speed over the race. So basically I just missed the last corner and yeah, came up too short. I was really nervous actually also.
And how are you feeling now?
Tired, really tired. I think I'm gonna have a shower and then go to bed.
Okay, we'll let you go to bed, why don't we? As you came away with the 4th spot today in the Skip Barbers. Congratulations on the 4th place finish, Mr. Hoppeldazen.
Thank you very much.
Now it's Miguel Hoppeldazen finishing off in 4th in the Skip Barbers today. And now, as our robot, Dawson, goes back to get some repairs in Dawson's Creek, why don't we wrap things up here on GSRC? As we'd like to thank everyone from the Quality Racing Syndicate for organizing this series and contacting us for the broadcast. Once again, another exciting broadcast that, in part, we'd like to thank our software and hardware providers that we use for a broadcast that you can see on your screen right now. The original music that gives us we have for every GSRC production that gives this broadcast its unique flavor and feel is thanks to Eric Elcombe and Casey Lalonde. You can see the screen for how to contact each of them. Now, the Ashbury Motorsports Sports Car Challenge Series returns for next Saturday from Laguna Seca. GSRC will be coming to you live from California to bring you all the action. Why don't you visit us at the hotel nearby the bay, as we hope you join us for the full race broadcast. For more information about GSRC, your best bet is to go to the Global Sim Racing channel at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. You can also maybe join us on Discord, where you can try and chat with some of our favorite competitors and your favorite competitors on GSRC related series, and maybe ride a pirate ship. Now, for Dougie Beard, for Joe Peak, and for Dawson Brock, I'm Justin Prince. Race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.